Agenda item number 11 is discuss and appoint citizens to the community center building improvement committee. We've had a hard time getting this thing going.
Yeah. I know we had some names. Did we ask, were they willing?
I didn't ask him.
Okay. I know
We talked about it,
I personally talked to Carrie Waters, and at that time she was willing. I believe, Nidra, you were willing. So.
Ray was, yeah.
Ray was willing, yep.
Shelley?
Yep, my wife.
She's willing. So there's 4.
Nikki, was it Nikki appointed to be?
Nikki Allen kind of has a background of artistry and colors and that kind of thing. I guess, I didn't have a conversation with her to ask her if she's willing. I just knew she'd be qualified.
Now, do we care we have to be gender? I mean, since it's a new committee, do we have to make sure, so far we got 1 male and 4 females, do we have to worry about finding? Or, I mean, is it that?
This is a not idea,
Yes.
even if it's a
Any committee has to be gender balanced for board.
if it's a temporary, it dissolves after the
I'm
project.
not an attorney, in my opinion, yeah.
Okay, so what do we got here? We got 3 more. So we should probably come up with at least 1 more male.
And then, yeah, and then with Nikki, but we can have, we just had 6, it's not gonna be one, so maybe Nikki will work.
You're into decorating, aren't you, Jim?
Yes, I'm all into fashion. Well, I was just thinking,
You couldn't resist.
you're heavily involved with the cleaning and the use of the facility. You may have some valuable input if I don't know if anybody agrees or disagrees. I just
think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'd have these two set in from a
Yeah, I think that's a good idea too for,
Right. From the city.
so we
Yeah.
got Carrie, Shelley, Neva, Ray.
Right.
Ray Totten was on that committee.
Mary Totten was too.
Yeah.
so maybe we need another male.
Never think really bad.
And especially if you're gonna have these 2 sit in, we probably need more males.
I don't know if they're on, I don't know if I would, maybe they're not on the committee, they're just there on behalf of the city.
On behalf of the city representatives.
Sure. Either that or we can take my wife off.
Well, I wonder if, someone who would be good would be Rick Elliott as building inspector. He'd have a construction background and knowledge as far as
Grand countertops and cabinets and sinks and all that.
what's that gonna take and what's involved and, I haven't asked him, but as far as input to the committee, it'd be valuable, I would think. Just throwing it out there.
T-O-T-T. I'm fine with that.
You gonna ask him?
Do you want to make a motion to these individuals? And I suppose we can put a caveat, assuming they
Assuming they accept. I didn't write them all down, but. All right.
I make a motion that Ray Darling, Nidra Flee, Carrie Waters, Shelley Fouch, Jerry Kaiser, Mary Totten, and Rick Elliott be appointed to the Community Center Building Improvement Committee.
Assuming they accept.
Assuming they accept, yes.
I would second that.
Any further discussions or comments? Councilmember Edelman?
Aye.
Coolers? DeWitt?
Aye.
So moved. Agenda item 12 is,
Well, I got it on my mind. Can I just throw in another item on there that we never resolved that we need to put on the next?
sure,
Rick had made a request about his cell
cell
phone,
phone.
and we've never resolved that issue. And I did talk to him, and he would prefer just to use his own,
Okay.
which we figured would be the case. So I think we come up with something reasonable there.
Agenda item 12 is discuss and appoint citizens to the Logan Legion Health Clinic Building Expansion Committee. So Legion and the doctors want more space. This is one of the more used, actually this has the most traffic of any clinic they have in Southwest Iowa, is what they told us probably 6 months ago. And they've outgrown the facility, according to them, that they're in today.
I like volunteering you for stuff. I think you'd be good at dealing with that.
Well, so I don't think we're going to probably solve this tonight.
No, I think,
But we need to put some folks on this because they're serious about their intent to expand if at all possible.
we need to start
Well, I
discussing
remember
it.
when they came to that meeting, it was a matter of us, was it applying, or they were gonna apply for a grant, but we had to back it, and so it really wasn't much our money involved, it was just us getting the temporary loan.
See, I think we need to really get some details on this because I don't think we know what that means yet.
So it's all our money. What they want is for the city of Logan to build them a facility. They will enter into a long-term lease of 20 years and make the payments on that for 20 years. At the end of that 20 years, then, depending upon if you renew again or they walk away from it, and we have a building that's hopefully paid for by them, but we have a building sitting here. What complicates it a little bit more for us is we currently have a building. There was original investors into that building. So that building is paid for, and those investors want out of that investment. So we have a building here that the original investors have done great work for our community and allowed us to have this clinic, want to get their dollars out of it, and then we need to expand. So what Dunlap and Woodbine has done is there are grants out there for us to get some, to get some funds for us to go ahead and build this facility. But Legion, at this point, at least what I know, they're not interested in putting up their money, a capital investment, to build a new building. They're looking for us to come up with that. And they'll work with us to find grant money to do that like they have other communities. But they're not interested in putting their dollars up. They will sign a long-term 20-year lease agreement to make the payments on it.
So we need somebody that has some financial expertise to be on this committee, probably.
So we need to think about those members, it's, again, and everybody is community-minded, kind of understands, finance and capital investments. It'd be great if somebody understands about grants, because it's going to be some grant writing in doing this.
Which I think Mary Lynn does grants too, isn't she?
And we're going to sit down with the current investors who own the building where they're in today, and obviously have a conversation with them.
Are they looking at a different site or expanding that site? What's the...
Again, how I take this, they just want a larger clinic in our community. And they're not going to dictate what that may mean. It could mean expanding the current one we have. It could mean not expanding that and building another one completely somewhere else. So they're open. It's just us kind of, as a community, figuring out what works best for us, particularly with some folks that were really investors allowing this to happen and be so successful from the beginning. So it's got to really work for us as a community. So in the beginning of the committee, we probably would have those original group that invested in that come in and really give us a lot more of the history and the detail. The doctors want to be involved as well too, in terms of what their needs are and kind of the requirements and stuff. So we have to think a little bit about this.
Have they presented any kind of minimal expectation for a facility? Or?
Not to my knowledge.
They just basically came and expressed an interest in working with the city and figuring out what that is.
As I understand it, they have continued conversations with the current investors of the building. The current investors aren't interested in putting any more money in.
Are they interested in selling the current building?
Yeah, they want to get their money out and allow other people to step up and have the opportunity.
The only,
Is how I understand.
this is all committee stuff. I was just going to say my only issue is if you expand that, would you still have parking? You know, but I mean, I suppose that's all. You probably have to at some point get architects involved and
There is land to the east.
that could be purchased.
Yep. Right.
Okay.
So, all that's under that. There's really nothing.
I was
No.
thinking they had an idea of how they would remodel the existing site. I was thinking that.
And they could have, I-
Yeah, mentioned that they had an idea.
Yeah. I know we kind of just shut down when our current investors said they're not willing to invest any more money into it.
So we need to come up with some names? Do we do that
We
tonight,
do.
or?
I would say, let's think about what that looks like, and then hopefully at the next meeting, again, we're out soliciting names, and thinking of people. Let's come back to the meeting next time and see if we can put at least some people on the committee.
Procedure-wise, is it proper to talk to some of these people now?
Yeah.
Before we've
Absolutely.
decided for bid?
We're actually going out, I guess the formal term would be recruit. Yeah, for people that would. Maybe be thinking too about what types of skill sets we need. If we started talking about that, the financial skill sets, engineering, architectural, potentially, all sorts of things we might need. Grant writers. It's an exciting opportunity for our community.
Could be a pitfall too.
Could be what?
Could be a pitfall too.
Agenda item 13 is discuss city council's responsibilities during litigation against the city and/or employees of the city.
I know I've had some issues with this whole process. And in the interest of keeping things calm, I have let it lay that I think it's time to address this. And I'm not sure, since it's a litigation issue, I don't know what I can address here in open, but I have some concerns with the representation and how it's being implemented. I think that especially the mayor and probably the council should be more informed and involved, and not discouraged from involvement. I don't know what everybody else's thoughts are, but
I think as a new council person, there's a lot of stuff that I probably don't even know that's going on. So, whether we need to have a closed session so we can talk about some of this stuff, so we can catch up on, I don't even know how many lawsuits. I really think we need filled in on what's going on.
Are we anticipating a meeting with the attorneys to update us?
Yes, I have had a conversation with Barneston, who was appointed by our insurance company. And he said that he would be willing to come and we could go into a closed session and give us an update on the litigation against the city of Logan. And I asked him if we'd like to do that within the next 2 to 3 weeks, which he said that was doable.
okay.
And I've had some discussions with him as well that he would address, Jim, to what some of your concerns were.
Okay.
So,
Because I think unless we're, one, I don't know what our responsibilities are, and I would hope he could advise us on that, but I would think one would be at least to keep informed, because we're going to have to make a decision at some point, I would think. Or is that all up to the insurance company now and we don't have any say, or I wouldn't think that'd be completely the case.
yeah, it's our community, we're accountable, we've been elected to be accountable
Right.
to do the right thing for our community and our citizens. And so the insurance company appointed the attorney. So we may agree or disagree on some things, and what that means potentially is that the insurance wouldn't pay for certain things if we decided to go a different route. But we're always in control. It's the city, it's our stuff, it's our work, it's our lawsuit. They're there to defend us, and so we should always be in the driver's seat. We need to know going in with both eyes open, what they're willing to cover and not cover, so we're making the best decisions. So we are accountable. We should know what's going on at all times. We should be updated on the status.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because there's a different personality behind the table than there was last year. Is there the potential of changing the direction of what they're doing at this point in time? too far in.
No, you can always change the direction. They're representing us. That's why you should always be in the know, right? So you know what's going on and you can collectively, as they're assisting you in managing the litigation.
Is the one suit the only thing we have? Are we done with the chickens and we're done with everything else? Any other lawsuits going on with attorneys? I saw some different attorneys' bills. Do we have anything else going on that we didn't, besides this one, that we need to know about?
The challenge on the Iowa Civil Liberties Union on the chicken ordinance or the exception, medical exception, that has been settled and that is done.
Okay.
The city has been released. The members of the council has been released. So we consider that done. The only thing that would change that would be if we went back on our commitment that we're going to do for that city. So that's done. So the one that we have in front of us still is Winthrop versus the city of Logan.
Okay.
The city at that point, individuals, was on the council at that time. To my knowledge, I looked at Marilyn and Vicky. Knock on wood, don't know of any. So while they're thinking, the bill that you're talking about, Lori, is our general counsel. It's Aaron Rosenberg, city attorney. So as we look at doing our work and need legal advice, that's what you're seeing there.
Okay.
Now, I have questions on that too.
So-
Yeah, I do too. There's some things that,
Yeah, so that's not for a
Okay.
particular lawsuit, that's just for general
Okay.
legal expense. So I will work with Barnston to get that set up. Have them come up with Agenda item 14 is discuss and approve a date for budget work session.
well, what are the odds we can schedule a closed session? Would that be too long to do both in one night? Do something with Barnston and do a budget work
Session with
session?
the budget. Pay me now or pay me later. I mean, we're going to have to do
We're gonna
it
have to do
sometime,
it.
so. Yeah. We'll try to put it at the same time.
It's just a suggestion. I don't care either way.
Does the work session have, that's something that can be open or is it to be closed or how does that?
It's open.
It's open?
It's open.
And so the other one has to be closed?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Typically, you just come out of a closed session if you want to go into open session. You can't making decisions in closed session. You know, in the past, we've tagged along after a council meeting and just continued on before the adjourn. So if you want to try it, we'll look to see if we can get the other scheduled.
The only pitfall with that is you don't know how long the closed session is going to take.
Right.
It could take a couple of hours if things don't go well, so.
What did you do last year? Just after, during a regular council meeting?
Yeah, we did it after. We didn't do it all, we just did the major part of it, and then we finished it next time.
We had several small ones.
So you want to look for the same time we do the attorney update and see what that looks like, or?
I think it might be smarter just to do it at the regular council meetings.
That's
That's why
right.
we said we don't know how long that might.
Yeah, we don't,
That might be
it might be 15 minutes and we're all okay, or it could be.
My gut would tell me it's going to be longer.
Might be good too.
So I wouldn't plan on anything after that. So you want to start next week?
On the 20th?
The next meeting, the 20th?
Is that too soon?
What is the budget meeting?
Not soon enough. Get as far as we can. As far as we can.
When does the budget have to be done? When does the budget have to be done? March 15th. March 15th.
But it has to be published for 10 days.
So by the end of February.
So, yeah, if we get started.
Well, let's put it on the agenda for the 20th. We'll start with that. Did you want to do something before that? Is that your idea? Okay. All right. We'll do the 20th. We need some special meetings between now and then February. Agenda item 15 is discuss and approve termination of contract with Parlin Technologies regarding annual on-site maintenance of computer equipment.
Checked into this when we got the invoice, and when Marilyn wrote the check, I called to see what it was, and it's an agreement that is supposedly on-site maintenance once a year for our Dell computer. I don't know when was the last time. The last service that was done on the Dell server was 3/2013. The rest of this equipment, a lot of it, we don't even have anymore. And they're looking at us paying $1,958. When I talked to them, I couldn't see the reasoning behind it.
But
We've
they
had
can,
several other people that have,
Didn't we just get new computers too? No, we didn't.
but for that price,
Good.
you could.
So what do we have today that's still under that contract? Anything?
We have the Dell server, we have the processor, we have the repeat printer. Let's see here. Some of the, like the keyboard and the LaserJet printer. And some of this is real technical as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what
What if our server went down? When do we want a maintenance contract on our server? Where our information is stored?
Would they, if it went down, would they repair it under a maintenance contract?
Would that be through a backup? Are we already backed through?
You'd have a backup of your data,
Angela,
but
do you know,
still you have
did you know about this? Angela can maybe give us some more insight
your
on this.
network.
Deidre and I can maybe give some input there if you'd like. Deidre started with that company when we went to having all the three computers and having them network or whatever. You have to update that every time you get rid of something. So if you get rid of a computer, then you call them and have them remove that from the contract. What that is on-site maintenance, usually same day. If you call them usually by, at least lunchtime or shortly thereafter, they usually come the same day. If the computer or the receipt printer or anything would go down, then they would come out and restore everything and repair whatever the problem is. It is expensive. I remember questioning Nidra when I first started about spending, that amount of money. But the few times where the computers went down and they showed up, the very same day or the next morning and had us up and going, I guess in our opinion, the only other option would be to find somebody else, maybe locally, who would be willing to come in at, half a day's notice to find and fix whatever it is, because without the computers, you can't pay water bills, you can't,
So
do
this
any
isn't,
business.
this isn't maintenance, this is service
No.
repair. Something
Correct.
if there's a problem, so it's not
Correct.
maintenance. What are their rates for incident? you know, per incident, say,
That's all included. Oh, you mean if you just
if we don't have the
pay per-
contract, can you still call them and say,
That I do not know. I don't know, do you think
It's a
they,
yearly amount, and whatever happens in that year,
you can maybe check with Chris Hartwig, because I know, the last I knew, First National Bank used the same company. So you could maybe check with him if you have some other questions, or maybe, just give Harland a call to see if that's an option to do it. Because quite honestly, I mean, they don't come out maybe
You never
once a
know.
year. I
You
mean,
never
it might be once every couple of years. But we did not have a good source locally of anybody that we knew who could just drop everything. And if they come out and the receipt printer cannot be fixed, part of that agreement is they just replace it.
Oh,
With the new one.
that's more insurance than.
Correct. So that was the big benefit, in that it covered replacement of things that could not be repaired.
well,
So before, when we had older computers, if a hard drive went out, we had a hard drive go out one time, they just replaced the hard drive because it couldn't be repaired.
When I talked to her, she said that it just was parts, labor, and travel was what was covered.
Parts, right?
Yeah.
And,
Not replacement.
I mean, they always have
that's
before.
what they did.
Yeah, they replaced hard drives, or,
They always had some equipment in their truck that they could bring in and
Switch it out.
switch it out, yeah.
so
Here, you
it
said
was,
there's items on here that we don't, that we pay for that we don't currently have.
I would get those off.
So let's get those taken off.
I think we gotta keep it for the other stuff.
Suzie, do you know, I think the courthouse has CTI out of Missouri Valley. Do you have any idea what their contract is, or prices, or what they're like?
They come up once a week for 4 hours, and they have computers, whether they're, checking them out to see if they're all up to date or installing new equipment. They're here for 4 hours every week, and that's when they pay.
See, I know the school does something similar to that with Hartman Technologies, where we buy so many hours a week for their technology people to be on site.
so with newer computers that are maybe less apt to fail, I don't know. I know somebody recently who had a hard drive crash 2 days after getting a new computer installed, but maybe you could look at something where you would just pay for a certain per incident or something. Maybe that would be less expensive. I think now that there's only 2 computers now, right? So, I mean, that should reduce it as far as taking a computer, keyboard, monitor off.
Yeah, maybe what we need to do is just get another quote from them, updated with what hardware we want on that. Taking
Mayor and council members, in late October of 2013, I was asked by Logan City Council members if I was aware of any LED grants were available, if the city could apply for them. In short, the answer is yes, and I did apply for AED grant funding, for which we were approved. The catch was, the grant funding for the 2013 year ended December 19th. With the last council meeting being on December 16th, it kind of put us in a tough spot. So since we did not spend any funds, we did not take advantage of any grant funding, we are eligible again this year. It's a fairly simple grant. It's very easy to complete. With that being said, I searched for current AED models similar to the Zoll Plus AEDs, just like this one that the city currently has. We have 2 just like this one that were right here in City Hall in the community center. With that being said, we also have a third that's specifically for the pool. It's of a different model, but it is functioning and is current, I should say. This was put into service in 2005. The other one, I believe, was also in 2005. If we were to get the grant funding again this year, similar to last year, it would bring the base price of these from $1,895 per unit to $1,264.81 per unit, a savings of $630.19 per unit. With that being said, before making considerable purchases, I chose to have Brittany Norby stop by. She helps maintain the fire department AEDs. She inspected the Zoll AEDs that we currently own, and it was determined that the city-owned AEDs are in need of new pads for adults and children, as well as batteries. Each one of these units takes 10 123A batteries. 10 batteries cost $35.95. 2 adult pads, the shocking pads for an adult would be $119.98 per 2 units, and child pads are $95 per unit. Each AED would require $250.93 to basically update it, make it functional, and make it pass an inspection. Each one of our officers and me, we have to requalify these, maintain qualifications in the use of automatic defibrillators as part of our CPR courses. What I would like to do, since we do have a budget workshop coming up, and committees are working on putting committees in place, especially for improvements to the community center. What I would like to do, I would like to keep you in the loop on, rather than seek the $1,200 to buy new AEDs per unit, I would very much like to spend the $250.93 to make one, for right now, out of the police budget. That would be kept and maintained here at City Hall in the front offices. At least get that ball rolling so we have a functioning AED right here in City Hall, whether it's for use by the community center for right now, for the folks for their lunches over at the senior center. The night shift officer can just grab it right out of the office and carry it around in the patrol car. Quite honestly, I've got enough paperwork right now to keep me in the office at least half of the day, so there's a really good chance that I can just grab it if I hear a rescue call and still be the first one there. So that doesn't require any action by the council. We have the money there to at least bring it up to snuff for the one unit to be maintained here. I did, however, want to put this information out there for your consideration, I guess, with the new committees coming into place. And one of the things that we really need to add is either looking into purchasing the new defibrillator or using those funds to bring the other AED up to service grade. That's all I've got. You guys have any questions for me?
So are you working with Vicki and Marilyn in terms of budgets and looking at what you need in your next year's budget?
Yes, we were discussing the budget workshop, as well as office supplies. Actually, looking at cutting some things, which is kind of weird to say, but
It's a great idea.
yeah, it's a novel idea, right? But yeah, it's just one of those things. We get so many rescue calls, and so many agencies are carrying their AEDs right now, and a lot of people, your average citizen, has training through their workplace or being on rescue fire squads, training with AEDs. It just makes sense to have them ready.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but don't they sell training pads for you to use with those, right? Do we
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have those, or
we can use the expired pads as training pads.
Okay.
We can also rent, or I believe we can borrow the fire department's training AED.
We have a training.
Okay.
A full training system.
Simulates everything about that.
Okay. And it'll work for your qualifying stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
Aaron, would you recommend one of those in every patrol car?
Oh, it would be absolutely phenomenal. Right now,
What
budget speaking, it's
would
not feasible.
today's weather, would that have an adverse effect on the unit being in the cold?
That's why they're primarily be stored in here. If the vehicle's running, not a
Or
big
just
deal.
take it out when officer goes out on patrol.
Yes, that's correct.
Would Harrison County Community Foundation, would they do anything with defibrillators? Does anybody know? I mean, I think they got grants coming up, don't they?
Yes, it's gonna be the spring, and I currently have a grant with them for something else.
Okay, for the police department?
I don't think they're there, they would, I'm just one member. They're, having it just designated for a police car. It's too narrow.
Okay.
We would like it to use something more broad.
Well, Vicki, maybe that'd be an idea for writing a grant for the city for putting one in the community center permanently that is in a case that, you know, I know we have one in our schools that's in a case that when you open the case up, it sounds an alarm and it's ready to go at all times, and would that be something more practical? Something that could be used out in the hallway, so it could be used in here or in the senior center or city hall or.
Also, like I mentioned, Vicki did find the pricing on through the same grant program. They also will give you special pricing on accessories. For an alarming AED cabinet, it's roughly $175 for a wall mount version, so it's right there. As soon as you pop the door, it's gonna make a noise, someone's calling for help, and you got the system right out there, so.
That'd be great to have available.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Plus the defibrillator would be 16, that's another 16.
Clerk's report.
The U.S. Highway 30 Coalition of Iowa is accepting dues for individuals, businesses, organizations, small towns. If interested in joining, please contact New York City Hall. They're also making plans for Transportation Day, January 29, 2014 at the Iowa Capitol. And we have that additional information if you're interested. Employee evaluations will begin this month. Please find evaluation forms in front of you in the packet for the chief and myself. These need to be returned to City Hall as soon as possible. Scott and Aaron will be evaluating employees in the department. I know this is going to be difficult for our new council member. I will assist you in any way I can. And I would appreciate your comments, concerns, and recommendations about Marilyn and Scott, since I have not worked with them for very long myself.
Comments or questions?
I would just say, as a new member, I think I would have an extremely difficult time doing an evaluation on somebody I have not a clue. So I don't know, does it have to be done by everybody? I mean, because like I said, I haven't worked with anybody enough to know.
No, I don't think, obviously, if you haven't had firsthand knowledge of working with somebody, it's difficult to review them. So I would say the people that probably Jim and I would be the ones who probably would have the experience with everybody to at least give a fair evaluation to. But we'll certainly share our evaluations with you. Mayor's comments, I just have really one. I'll say what we've already talked about. It's really around priorities for 2014. And I know that there's a lot of things a lot of us want to do. And we probably need to start kind of getting those down, looking at those, prioritizing those, looking at resources. It's time for budget, a lot of things that we're talking about here tonight. So I would ask that you all think about what it is you want to accomplish in 2014, and even beyond if that's possible. And then let's put it on the agenda for next meeting. Let's start getting these out. Let's start talking about them. Put some priority to it. I know from talking to each of them individually over the last 3 or 4 months, it'd be easy to boil the ocean, want to do everything very quickly, but that's probably not reasonable. So I think we need to kind of take a step back and prioritize what is most important, and then put some resources and energy around it. Certainly, we already talked about the codes, the ordinances, the employee handbook. I think that's probably pretty important, particularly around changing our form of government from 5 to 3, so that certainly has to take priority. There's some other things we talked about tonight with some committees and stuff, but why don't you put your other thoughts down and let's have a good conversation about it next meeting and then start talking about priorities and what we want to do. And that fronts kind of the budget process and conversation as well. So.
I Are there any other, I mean, as we were talking about grants and as you're bringing up priorities, is there stuff that we're forgetting to do? Like, do we have to, were we supposed to like do anything with 28E agreements or anything like that? I mean, are there some of those out there? Those kind of things that, I don't know how we go about making sure we don't miss some of that stuff, but I know we have to like renew some or redo them at some point.
I actually have down a list of some things that I'm
Okay.
going to look at Vicky and get, and that's one of those, getting it on the agenda.
Okay.
At least to have copies of, to talk about kind of what the term is, how it all works.
Yeah, if we could figure out when that has to be on. Okay.
The other thing that we talked about just briefly too would be, we're talking about now is new business. And Jim, you've asked us a couple of times, is there any old business yet that's a leftover or carryover from 2013 that we never really acted on? And if so, Vicki, let's you and I talk about that, and let's get that on the agenda.
Have Heaves came back at all about, is theirs still like floating around?
Yes, it is.
There is.
Well, I mean, there was a citation issue. That citation was dismissed,
By the court.
but technically, they're still in violation.
So,
And the mayor at that time put a moratorium on enforcing those until the council came back together.
I was thinking that.
I thought the ordinance you guys came up with was really good. I would maybe suggest we bring that same one back and try to go through it again as old business.
And the former council, after talking to them, they did have some points on the way the punitive stuff was in there that we didn't see at the time, but that ordinance would have accomplished a lot towards cleaning up a few things. And so maybe we could revisit, revise, and improve that in some way, shape, or form. One thing that I do think, as we're just discussing here, and maybe we need to work with Aaron on this and how that would, but our nuisance abatement stuff, as we clean up our ordinances, that is a vital key. Having that down, knowing how to do it, and having the determination to do nuisance abatement type stuff is going to be key as we move forward and get things addressed in our ordinances.
The terminology is huge. This nuisance abatement should be a simple project, really. The issue of like terms like adequate, your definition of adequate and my definition of adequate,
Right.
they could be polar opposites.
Right. And you've had a lot of experience with other municipalities in nuisance abatement, so that's why I say working with Aaron, I think he would be play a key role in how we move forward with that. But I think we want to get something that's practical, enforceable, and has some teeth to it.
So I'd look for Marilyn and Vicki to kind of come back to us a bit too with some old business you think sitting out there that we need to act on, and let's not just let it sit out there. Or if any of you know of any as well, let's get it on the agenda. Let's make some decisions and move forward along with some other exciting new stuff and opportunities that we have in town.
I'd like to have a question for you. Today we received a copy of an invoice from Rodenberg's office. I have a lot of questions on it. It's just a place to ask questions, or is that the next meeting?
We would be approving it in the next meeting. So we need to ask questions now and or between now and the next meeting.
All this is information that, in my opinion, the full council should be fully aware of. There's line item after line item after line item of receive and review emails, respond to say. Who's emailing them, what's the information going on? A couple of years, conferences with Skip Johnson regarding the clerk, heaps, chickens. What's he talking about? This is public business. Were you guys aware of those conversations?
Yeah, we've had this conversation as well, yeah.
Another question I have on this is, who is Matt Spearman? Why is our city attorney
I
talking
have
here?
no idea. I didn't know he did until I seen that.
Who authorized
My
that?
attorney
Who
has not.
authorized that?
I don't know. I
Why
haven't
are we
talked to
paying?
my attorney. I mean, I have not talked to my attorney since this all, I signed that thing.
There's lots of questions on here.
Can you tell him we need more information? I'm not gonna approve, at least I won't vote for.
Yeah, no, I had the same
That's
concerns.
insulting. That's all I have.
Citizens' questions and comments?
Nice meeting.
Yeah.
I'd like to welcome the new council.
Yeah.
And Mayor.
The only thing I had, Mike, is you guys have got that city street that they had approved to sell that never went through, and you guys need to get together and
That would be an old
that's an old business, and take care of that by, if he's not gonna buy it, then make a, whatever you guys do, resolution, whatever it is.
I'm sure there'll be a handful of things.
And get it
not
off of
more
there.
old
Yeah.
business that's just.
Yeah, if you guys, seriously, I mean, even citizens, if you guys think it's something that was brought up and never handled or decided or dropped, or, because I'm sure we're not gonna remember it all, and
We vacated the street.
Cold Drive. Cold Drive.
Cold.
Right.
Okay.
No, I don't think we ever got painted.
right.
And I don't think he's gonna pay.
So it'd come back to the city.
I guess we need to understand how that works, is do we then, I mean, the city decided to sell it and they set a price. Do we have to offer that up to just anybody now? Do we pull it, can we say it's no longer for sale? I don't know what the process is there.
What can we consider the process?
I mean, I don't know that anybody else would be.
You can't, I don't think you can sell it to anybody else because it would landlock him, and I don't think that you
Yeah,
can
see, I don't know
legally
what the
landlock.
process would be.
We'd have to look at it. I'm not familiar.
And I don't know what the process is to not sell it. I mean, we'll have to look into that.
He just doesn't have.
The
access
issue
to
really
that
more
part of
is
the property because
the
for all.
the land doesn't hurt anybody, or, I mean, the issue was that the agreement that was made was that the payment for the land would cover all of the costs that the city incurred through publishing, through attorneys,
And that's never been paid.
and that's never been paid. It's been paid only by Jeff and Mandy Pitt for their portion.
Okay.
So,
So we'll have to visit that and clean that up somehow.
Any other citizens' questions or comments?
Are we still in agreement, or have an agreement with the Harrison County Development Corporation to work for the city?
We have a 28E that will have to be revisited, possibly renewed, possibly, I personally reiterate, possibly renewed. I'm not sure when that is though.
I guess my concern is, what are they doing for us? We have empty buildings downtown.
That's my concern as well.
We need to move forward, just like you do with
Yeah.
the doctor's office. We
Yeah.
got to do
One thing
something
matters in
positive
our
to keep people
In our
calm.
own hands.
Yep.
Yeah, probably is to do so.
That's one of my goals that will be on the next agenda.
Anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Councilman Edelman?
Aye.